Thank you for joining me for another quick hits conversation. I'm Dr. Robyn. I'm known as the mental MacGyver, providing luxury level support and coaching to executives, founders, celebrities, and athletes. With me today, I have Judy Musa. She is the founder and managing partner of Mojo Collaborative Communications, where she does strategic communications and is a content creator and social connector. I also have Bruce Wayne. He's doing leading edge work into neuroscience of anxiety because modern life has dysregulated our nervous system and he helps reset it. And I have Elissa Hecker. She is the go-to general counsel, collaborative partner, and creative problem solver for businesses and the entertainment and arts industries. The question I have today, what makes a group a clique? Elissa, kick us off.
I was really interested in getting this conversation because it immediately took me back to high school, Mean Girls and all the musicals and things like that. But I think in terms of our purposes, and I'm no longer in the corporate world, but this happens very often in a corporate setting where you have folks who have similar tastes or similar interests become more than a friend group, but become exclusionary to others. And I think clique has a derogatory term to it because it means that it is exclusionary and can very often create negative ripple effects within a business. And I think it's something that founders and managers and mentors should be aware of when they're creating groups and trust building exercises and things like that. So I think, in my opinion, a clique is a group of people who have something in common, but they take it to the nth degree, where they start to, whether they mean to or not, exclude others and become a little bit intimidating.
I think Elissa was spot on with saying it's the mean girls. That's how we think of cliques, and we think of them as exclusive. And there's a lot of divisiveness in that. You're either inside or outside, and you don't let many people in. Mm-hmm. So in a corporate setting, of course, it's very deleterious to teamwork, but it's also very important to have people working together to move the ball forward. So it's a very complex, interesting concept in modern world, I think.
Just because Bruce and I both mentioned this, I definitely think cliques can happen among men as well. I was just using the Mean Girls as the movie and the show kind of thing, because you have athletic cliques, you have CEO cliques, you have a lot of, like you were saying, Bruce, political cliques, things like that. So I want to just make sure that it's not only women.
We're not excluding men because they do it as well. Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Judy.
I would say that when that question came across, it zoomed me right back to 7th grade, literally. And feeling like the one that wasn't included in whatever the thing was. I have to say that I've spoken to my children about this topic because they've both felt that experience, like everybody goes through that. How do you find your friend group? What does that mean? Make sure you're not exclusionary in your friend group, because that's what I think. Because if you do that kind of activity as a child or in middle school, well, those are when you set a lot of things that happen and how you act as a human being. That's when you have those conversations with your kids about letting people who might be different in neurodiverse children into your community, not excluding them. And cliques by their very nature seem to do that, try to fan out people that are not like us, whatever the like us is. But I do think that in middle school, at least, or when we're seeing that start, that kind of behavior, when that becomes more apparent to children, where not everyone's invited to everything, is definitely happens more among girls first, maybe just because girls mature first, but also because I think there's cultural context here.
I can actually speak to that rather intelligently. Yeah. My first book is called Stop the Drama, The Ultimate Guide to Female Teams. And yes, girls mature first. Girls are also taught to engage in relational aggression, which is that idea of we're in, you're out kind of thing. Whereas boys at that age are still getting into fistfights with each other. And that's how they handle conflict. And we see that with men in sports, and men are allowed to engage in that fist fight behavior. Women are not, girls are not. And so we tend to engage in relational aggression. But if you take a man and tell him you're not allowed to engage in fist fights, they also engage in relational aggression, which is why we see that in the corporate space. And for me, cliques are exclusionary. Yes, you're not allowed in, but also I will harm you and help people within my group. So this came up because I was talking to someone in my neighborhood, and he left a job because of cliques, because there were a few people in his organization that were so busy helping each other and praising each other and writing good reviews for each other, that even though they weren't directly harming him. They were harming him by doing nothing for him.
That's interesting. Did he speak to them about it? It might have been inadvertent and not a clique.
He didn't. No, he didn't speak to them about it. It was interesting because he told me that he actually went into Facebook and looked at who was connected to who and could see the clique in Facebook happening.
It's funny you bring that up because my son said the same thing to me. He says, Mom, guys just like we beat the crap out of each other and then we get along. We don't like hang on to stuff. Girls drag this out.
All you have to do is watch The Real Housewives to see that. It's
Well,
playing it right there.
Men engage in kind of king of the jungle. We'll beat each other up, and whoever kind of wins that gets to be the leader until someone threatens him, whereas women tend to do relational aggression nonsense. And unfortunately, it's considered, as you said there, Elissa, interesting or some kind of entertainment to watch it happen. So it gets, the flame gets fanned. There we go. Bruce, the ladies have been talking a lot. What do you think?
Well, one of my passions is this idea of the social media and how it's affected cliques, particularly for young teenage women who are coming of age, and these relationships are so important. And now you've taken out the neurobiology of the interaction by being able to post things, not necessarily anonymously, although sometimes anonymously. The ability to zing someone is amplified tremendously. And as a result of that, we have a lot of mental health issues. Suicide among young people is way, way up, and there's a disconnection. So I think from a neurobiology perspective, it's critical to develop interpersonal skills, and doing that in a social networking online environment is detrimental.
Yeah, COVID really affected teenagers, I think, so deeply because they didn't have the ability to create that normal interactivity and socialized kind of thing. There were a good 2 years or so where they were mostly online. And a lot of what you were saying, Bruce, they have that way of their normalcy rather than interacting in person.
But it started long before that. I have a daughter who's 19 and she was not allowed to have a full phone until she was in high school. And she had a slidey phone. So she was the only one who didn't get onto Instagram when Instagram started. And Instagram became the de facto, you're in the picture, you're not in the picture, you're invited to the party because you could post things. They'd have all these pictures. And she was left out of things purely because she didn't have Instagram. And I just refused to have her get caught up in the toxicity of that. She's very grateful now because she found her real friends anyway. I said, you don't need to be online to have your friends. You can find your friends in real person. To your point, the neurobiology, Bruce, played a role in that, but that goes back, we're talking 7-8 years ago. So it's just, I think COVID and being isolated exacerbated what was already the bullying and the craziness that happened. But if it happened on the playground, then it was done. It didn't linger forever online where people could see it and share. And I have taught my children, don't put anything on social media that you wouldn't tell your grandmother in person.
We used to say, don't put anything that could be shown on the cover of the Washington Post. I mean, that was when we were growing up, we would say that.
Yep.
Yeah, now it's everywhere.
And as a child, I got picked on a lot. And I can definitely say it was good that when I went home, it didn't follow me. Now it follows you.
Yeah.
Bruce, I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
HR reviews these types of things before they make hires. So this stuff has legs. It has a longitudinal life. And your point, Judy, to the playground, I mean, that stuff comes and goes, and it's forgotten mostly quickly. And that was a blessing. And I think that's one of the downsides of this information age, is that now it's great to get access to certain stuff, but it's also, you got to watch, especially what you post, especially personal types of things.
To what Bruce just said, HR can check out everything in advance, but that didn't help Robyn's friend who was in a company, and HR doesn't necessarily help the cliques within the adult world. In business, it's a very uncomfortable position to have to report, and then who is doing it and who is the leader and how do we, so it can still affect you.
And where does it cross the line into being wrong? I think that's hard to do too. But that is our 10 minutes. So I'm going to have to cut this conversation off there. Thank you so much for having it with me. I think there's a lot more to discuss about cliques in the adult world, and I look forward to doing that again very soon.